we honor the Police Officer of the Year. This project was started by Tom Sheets in 1989, so this is our 28th consecutive year to do it. At the end of the program, I'm going to give the master plaque back to the chief. Now, this is not our first one. This is actually our second one because the first one's full. But if you want to go see this, I'll tell you where it is, and it's kind of a neat little tour you can take. If you go down to the police station and go into the foyer there, the police department will not pat you down. And they have a real neat display there in the display cases. It's the old-time police uniforms and things, and it's pretty cool. So if you haven't seen that, it's worthwhile doing. But hanging there is our plaque, so you'll get to see that. I'm going to let the chief, when he gets his turn, introduce our guest. But here's how our program is going to run today. I'm going to introduce Chief O'Rourke. He's going to stand up and tell us how the police department goes through to select their quarterly police officers and how they ultimately select the Police Officer of the Year award. He's then going to tell us a little bit about Shawn Ramsey. We're going to let the chief sit down, and then we're going to have Shawn stand up, and he's going to tell us a little bit about himself, his family, and his job. And I'm going to present him his individual plaque that he gets to keep. And then at the very end of the program, this is going to be our opportunity to ask any of our guests questions that you might have. So be thinking on your questions so you can ask them here. So I'm going to turn the program over to Chief O'Rourke.
First of all, thank you very sincerely, because you are the only civic group in the city that has done this, that honors year to year a police officer. And it's been going on for 27, 28 years. And I will tell you, when it first started in 1989, I had 9 years on the department, so I've been around for a little bit. And so is this honor. The way we select our Officer of the Year is every quarter our frontline supervisors nominate an officer. And it's going to be an officer. It's not going to be usually a supervisor. Supervisors will do a write-up on who they think is deserving of the Officer of the Quarter award. And of course, that happens 4 times. And out of those 4, we take a look at admin staff does, the 5 captains and myself, and we'll read all the synopsis of everything that these officers have done, and then make that selection of the Officer of the Year. So it's pretty competitive. A lot of officers do get nominated, a lot do not get Officer of the Quarter. And the way this process works, the best comes to the top. And this year we selected Officer Ramsey. And let me go back a little bit and let me introduce, this is Captain Tim Jacoby. He's been a captain, fairly newly promoted. He's in charge of our Special Operations Division, which also encompasses the Narcotics Division. Officer Shawn Ramsey, just not too long ago, he was clean cut. He just got transferred into the Narcotics Division, so he's looking a little sketchy. He couldn't wait to start growing a beard, so we'll see how that works for him. But
Do you dress like that every day?
Yeah. He's the kingpin.
But a little bit about Officer Ramsey. He's been with us since 2001. And he's been in patrol, traffic, investigative services, so-called detectives, also called detectives. He's been outstanding in every division that he's been in. And he was an outstanding street cop. He was an outstanding traffic officer. He was on their fatality accident team. He investigated a lot of serious accidents. He did a lot of cases while he was in uniform. He basically put himself out as one heck of a good cop. So he got moved to detectives or investigations. And there he really excelled. Anything that you read about in the paper, homicides, robberies, Shawn was involved. He was the investigator. He cleared a lot of crime. He was the go-to guy for serious crimes when something very serious happened. And he did so well, we thought, well, let's take the next step and let's see if he wants to work narcotics, which is something that I did for about 18, 19 years. And it takes a special kind of person, a good investigator, to do that. So we're going to give him a shot at that, hence the new look. So he was basically sort of bald and Yeah. They could have been brothers until about a month ago. But Shawn has done an outstanding job. I'll let him talk about himself a little bit. One little fact, in about 2 months, he's going to be a grandpa, Shawn. So congratulations to him on that. And again, thank you for what you do for the community. We're proud to serve this community, and thank you for the honor that you do for us every year.
All right, thanks, Chief. Well, we're going to hear from Shawn Ramsey and a little bit about himself and his job. Pressure.
Like I said, my name is Shawn Ramsey. I just want to thank you guys for this honor and continuing to do this every year for the last, say, 28 years.
28 years.
It's awesome. It means a lot to me. I mean, all the hard work that everybody at the police department puts in, and to be chosen as the Officer of the Year, it means something special. I'm from Enid. I grew up here. I graduated school in Garber in '97. Married. I got 4 kids. I am going to be a grandpa in the end of April, and I'm looking forward to that too. So, like I said, I've been at the police department for 15 years. I love doing it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. There's no telling from a day-to-day basis what you're going to run into. I work the streets. I work the fatalities, traffic. The most fun I've had so far is back in detectives. Like you said, robberies, homicides, anything. It's challenging and it's very fun, actually. So I think that's it. I mean, once again, I just want to say thank everybody for allowing me to be the Officer of the Year.
All right, we're going to present this plaque to Shawn. This is personal plaque to take home. I suspect they'll want to take some pictures of you later after the program, but congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Have your seats. We're going to have questions, and this is questions for the whole group here. I'll kind of start this off, and then you all can follow up with your question. It's kind of the same question I have every year. When I was a district court judge, we used to do an awful lot of drug trials. And that was when you could buy products that had pseudoephedrine in them over the counter. And then when they changed that law where you had to go through the pharmacist, our trial work went down. It was great. So my question for the whole group is, tell us about what's going on in the drug world here in Enid, meth, stuff like that, just anything.
I'd say that our biggest concern right now doesn't necessarily have to do with the drug problems in Enid, but it's with a change in the law that goes into effect in July. And I don't know, how many of you voted or how many of you read that particular question, but what it changes is it makes every drug possession arrest a misdemeanor, regardless of what type of a drug it is, unless it's up to a heavier weight to get to a trafficking level, or unless you're caught actually selling the drugs. So what that means is, some of the harder core drugs like, heroin, PCP, crack meth, all the heavy hitters, it's now legal, or I won't say legal, it's now a misdemeanor, which is a petty crime to possess those in any place. But specifically, it would be a misdemeanor crime only to have heroin under a trafficking weight in the high school. They could find what I would call a large amount of heroin in a kid's locker, and that's just a petty crime now. Whereas before, those were all felony crimes. And I think I sort of understand the intent, was to kind of ease our prison populations for drug offenders, but it's really been taken too far, and as a result, I suspect it's going to cause us a lot of problems, not only on the enforcement side of it here, but I think just, socially and within our city, it is not going to benefit us in terms of drug addiction and drug problems. I think it's going to hamper us. So that would be my primary concern right now.
Shawn, what kind of things do you do in that regard in your job?
I've just recently got moved to narcotics a month ago.
Ask him all the hard drug questions.
I'm still trying to learn that side of it.
Okay.
I haven't really worked a whole lot of drug crimes.
All right, questions?
Jerry?
Yes, ma'am.
So you kind of go undercover. Does that mean I can't post your picture on our Facebook page? Because I don't want people, oh, he's Officer of the Year, but he's over here.
I think it's all right. It's all right. It was in the paper already, so it'll be all right.
Like, I never saw it in the paper.
So those
It
people
wasn't
are
us.
reading the paper and
Yeah,
seeing my
it'll be all right.
Facebook. Okay.
Sir.
You know, you may not be able to answer this from your new role in narcotics, but since you've been on the force since '01, it's always funny for me to hear dumb crook stories. So you probably have one where somebody just does all the work for you. Tell us about something that's funny that criminals do.
I think one of the funniest ones I've ever been involved in is when, this was several years ago, two guys were out driving around and accidentally dialed 911, and were talking about burning things down, and when we got there, they were actually lighting something up.
Oh my God.
And I can tell you one as a judge that I had involving the police. It happened to be a drug thing, and one of the undercover officers went up to make a buy, and the guy selling him the drugs asked him if he was a cop, and he said no. And so then in court, the crook said, "Oh, he lied to me. He lied."
Do you go undercover like here locally where people, I mean, if they did pick up a paper and see your face, like, or is it you kind of go, they send you like farther out in the county where they might see you?
Oh, everything I do is here at Enid.
All right.
And
So we just have stupid people that don't rate.
I did it years ago. You can do it. I mean, there's a lot of people. I was in a bar one time and doing an investigation, and this girl who was one of the targets said, "You look just like Brian O'Rourke." And I said, "I hear that all the time." And she's like, "Okay."
Jerry, do you have a question?
Has the Colorado marijuana had an effect?
Yes, I think it has. The Colorado marijuana, there's a lot of it here, and it's getting to be a bigger problem. It's being imported easily, obviously by vehicle, and sometimes by mail, UPS, FedEx, and things like that. We're seeing a lot of it. The issue with the Colorado weed is the usual marijuana, or the Mexican marijuana that we get here, usually up from the border, the THC content is about maybe 6-8%. The Colorado weed's about 21 to 26%, so it's a lot stronger. And I was telling these guys earlier, I've got a nephew that's a fireman in Pueblo. He said it's increased, the legality has increased their homeless population by about 50%. Their medical calls are up, and there's just a lot more crime. So it's really been a problem. So I don't think it's working out real well for Colorado, and I hope it really doesn't happen here. But it is impacting us.
I saw an article in the paper recently about the police officer, or a few police officers are going to start carrying the body cameras. Tell us about that and how that works.
Yeah, we already have about 13 or 14 implemented right now, mainly in the traffic division and some in the patrol. Eventually, we'll have everybody be wearing a body camera. Not everybody, I won't be. Everybody in patrol will be. That's a project that is an expensive project, obviously, and it's a sort of an IT nightmare for hosting all that video. So we're slow going on it. There's some things, we made our own policy on it. The Open Records Act in Oklahoma makes any video that a police officer takes open records. So our policy is a little bit more restrictive. We don't want our officers, say, in people's houses, videoing. You know, obviously over there inside your house, you're having a bad day, the worst day of your life, why should we film that? So, and then have that as open records where, say, it's as simple as your neighbors can say, well, there's cops down at your house the other day. I'm going to go down and see what video they have. We don't want that getting out. That's just a violation of people's privacy. So our officers usually will not video inside of somebody's house. And open records, the only thing we can redact is deceased people, nudity and juveniles that can be identified, and obviously some, grisly homicide scenes, something like that. So we're using it, and I think it does two things. People that we interact with most of the time are the 10% that keep us 90% busy. It ups their game a little bit. I think it makes them behave a little bit better, and I think it ups our officers' game a little bit, and I think they have a tendency not to, do anything, watch their behavior also. So I think cameras are a good thing. We'll see. So far, so good.
Yes.
I'm planning on going into law enforcement after the Marines. How does being a cop in a city like this compare to like Tulsa or New York City, somewhere huge?
I think being here in Enid compared to New York City or something, we have right at 100 officers, so you know everybody. New York City, you ain't gonna know the guy that's a block from you, and if something happens, I mean, these guys all have your back. You don't know this guy over here.
Do you, and we see a lot on social media and in the news about police and police brutality and people anti-police, and I don't think that the Enid community is like that. But have y'all experienced anything negative as towards, besides criminals just being done? Or does the community pretty much embrace our police department?
As far as I can tell you, the community here embraces our police department.
There's, in the past 6 months, it's been sort of amazing the community support that we're getting. There's not a day goes by or a week goes by where somebody's not delivering pizzas or some group, wants to come down and do something for us, and that's amazing. I mean, we've had catered dinners for all the officers. We've had people bring all kinds of food, or have it paid for. Billy Sims Barbecue fed basically the entire department, and it happens every day. I mean, it's just amazing.
Joe Marr, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question about human trafficking and how, Oklahoma being in the middle of the states, do we see any cases? Is it something that is happening, just beneath our noses and we don't know?
I don't believe we've seen any human trafficking cases here in Enid.
We're pretty unique. Enid is very unique. There's a lot of things happening in the bigger cities and other areas that we don't see. We don't have that problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was curious because of the interstate, and when you travel to other states, there's usually at gas stations things that they point for you to look at, just if you see somebody in distress or something, and I was just curious about that.
We haven't had any here.
I think the extent of it, I think in some of the bigger cities is in prostitution.
Okay. Thank you.
I think we've got a question right here.
What is your favorite TV cop show, if you have one?
I don't watch TV a whole lot, but I was actually telling Catherine Jacoby earlier that there's a new show on called Live PD. It's on Friday nights, and they ride around with these 5 or 6 agencies, and one of them is Tulsa, and they film it live as it's happening right in front of you.
Well, mine is the First 48, so
Yeah.
I love that show.
What is and maybe I just missed this, number one criminal problem? I mean, if it's drugs or other, what is y'all's biggest, if you had to categorize all the things you get called out on?
I think my biggest concern is probably drugs, and that's not speaking as I used to do that, but I consider drugs to be sort of a root crime, which it causes everything else. A lot of times, most of the times when you have a violent crime or shooting or something along those lines, you always track it back to drugs. And that's what, like Captain Jacoby was talking about, the new House Bill, I think it was 780 or Senate Bill 780, which basically, in my mind, decriminalizes some of the more serious, expensive drugs that could cause us more problems. And that's why I'd rather be a little bit harder on drugs, or wish that the legislature would be. And the more people, and I'm in full agreement with treatment plans and things along those lines, but between mental health and drug issues, that's a real big concern.
Okay, last chance for questions. One right here.
I have an interest with animals. How many dogs do you all have in your police department now? And how many are in your truck?
You know what?
Yeah, actually, we have 2 working canines in our department right now. In past years, we've had 3, and our intention is to get up to a 3rd dog by probably the end of the summer, maybe early fall.
So that they assist you in everything besides drugs?
They are canine, or I'm sorry, they're narcotics detection dogs, and they're also trained to do tracks. In other words, if you get a suspect that runs from a scene, article searches, if someone throws a gun out the window during a car chase, we can go back to that area. The dog can actually work the area and sometimes find the item. And then bite work. If you've got a resisting arrest type scenario, the dog will actually, use force and bite the suspect to get him to comply.
Okay, last question.
I saw on social media recently, and I don't know if you should always believe what you see, but Enid was rated very high nationally for prescription pain pill abuse. Do you see that, and is that true? Is there a problem in this city?
You can always believe what you see on social media. In reality, I don't know. I think that was an unfair rating, although in Oklahoma has one heck of a problem. Now, I think, if I remember this right, there was more people killed by prescription drug abuse than traffic accidents last year in Oklahoma. It is a problem, and it seems like the legislature is somewhat resistant. I know some of the medical field is to work with the PMP, the prescription monitoring program, to try to stop the flow of the opiates and the diazepines that are being abused. Do we see that here? Yes. But are we highly ranked nationally? I don't see that.
Okay, Shawn, thanks again.
Thank you, good. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you very much. It's always, for me, it's an honor to be able to do this on behalf of the club. You guys are the ones that are out there, putting your lives on the line every day. So we really appreciate that for keeping Enid secured and safe. And so thank you for doing that. And that concludes